Hi, welcome to Salt and Burn This. I'm Sami.
And I'm Valerie.
And this is our Supernatural Rewatch podcast.
Each week, we're going to break down an episode in order with lots of details, so nothing's left out.
And we throw in some personal nuggets and stories and research to mix it up just a little bit.
Because not only are we fans of the show, but like Sam and Dean, we've also had our fill of road trips.
Yeah, but for theater, not for hunting ghosts and demons.
And not in a super sexy muscle car.
Anyway, shall we?
We shall. I talk about a crazy meaty episode. I didn't think it was going to be that hard to do.
No.
Oh my god.
It took me forever. It took me forever to do like the research and to find like all the little hidden stuff. And it was fun. I haven't had this much fun like kind of researching and doing homework on the episode in a while. But man, it took a long time.
Yeah. It took me a couple of days because I sat down and did a little at a time. But was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday morning. I got up because I was like, oh, Sammy's going to call me. So I got up early and I jumped back into it. And I was like, oh, no, I was at the 4-minute mark for the longest time, like on the counter. I was like, why aren't I progressing? What's going on? Why is it? I mean, and I kept telling myself, Sammy's going to hate me. She's just going to absolutely reach through Zoom and be like, stop it. Can we just talk about the episode? Because I just kept finding things.
No, I did too. So we're in the same boat here. So I don't know, we should probably maybe get started because I don't know how long this is going to be.
I have half a cup of coffee, so we may have to take a coffee break.
Okay. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. Here we go. Get comfy.
Yes. All right.
Get comfy.
Season 4, Episode 5, Monster Movie. A good old-fashioned vampire hunt becomes something much more bizarre as classic film monsters terrorize a town during Oktoberfest. Written by Ben Udland and directed by Robert Singer.
I just read my first note and it says, sorry for the details. That's my first note.
Just to start us off, I did not really remember this episode at all.
I remembered pieces. I didn't remember the arc, but I remembered pieces. And I think it's just because there's so many outtakes from it that there's clips of this episode all over the internet. I see.
So, no, I don't remember them doing a black and white episode. I don't remember this. I kind of remember when the guy showed up as Dracula. I was like, oh, I've seen this guy as Dracula before.
Yeah, but I don't remember why he's Dracula.
Yeah.
What he's doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was this was a brand new, and I remember the girl with the lipstick. Like I remember that action, like, you know, the blood, and then that was the clue that led them to the thing. Do not remember anything else. So this was kind of like a whole new experience for me. I was like, oh, this is really fun.
It was fun. It was refreshing. And they even say it in the beginning. It's like, we need a good old fashioned like Winchester monster hunt. And I was like, yes.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
So this episode starts without a recap. There's no then and now. There's no recap. It just starts into credits. It starts with title credits, which Supernatural never does. It usually just does title cards, you know, interspersed over the opening. So this was like full on, you know, movie credits. And with all the names that I saw, I swear to God, I thought I saw the name Robert Englund. Now, I don't know if you know who that is. He's the actor who is Freddy Krueger.
Oh.
And it wasn't him, it was Eklund. It was, you know, our regular Supernatural guy. But for the entire episode, I was like, oh my God, Freddy Krueger's in this.
Oh.
And so I was watching the entire episode going, where's his cameo? He's not in it. It was just me, you know, projecting because it was a monster movie that,
right.
You know,
I think what you saw was the actor who plays Ed Brewer, the kind of crazy guy.
Yeah.
who plays the organ. His name is Michael Eklund.
Oh, maybe that's what I
I think
saw.
that's what you
Okay.
saw. It was like the actor, credits. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But I just saw this little side note that I was like, where is
yeah.
he? Where is he? Where is he? He's not in this one.
No.
Which
So
is fine.
so as you said, it starts off with credits, but not just credits. It's like in the style of those super old school black and white movies, complete with like the WB logo, like right on the
Yeah, the
front.
shield. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the really spooky, loud music.
Orchestration. It's an
Yes,
orchestra. It's not sound, it's orchestra.
and in black and white. So this sets us up for the entire episode.
Yeah.
Because then the next scene are the brothers driving down the road, continuing that cheesy kind of old school music in black and white. And it never leaves black and white. It's filmed in black and white the whole time, which is
I
super
thought at
cool.
some point it would like fade into color, but it never did, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. They could have started this episode with it was a dark and stormy night, which is one of my favorite openings. Snoopy, whenever he starts his books when he's typing, he starts his book as it was a dark and stormy night. I'm like, they could have labeled this episode as a dark and stormy night, because it's like every scene starts with the storm clouds, and the thunder and the lightning and stuff. Never raining, but always foggy and wet. Strategically placed thunder and lightning.
Yes.
Nothing random about where it kabooms and flashes.
So yeah, they're listening to cheesy music, which turns out to be what's on the radio.
Right.
The orchestration turns
that we hear fades into what they're listening to on the radio, which is like dun 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 dun.
This station sucks.
I'm like, at what point did they actually stop on that station?
Right.
Like, how long had they been listening to that orchestration?
Although, I mean, and you would know this, if you're ever listening to the radio during a road trip, you do come across spots where there is literally nothing but the classical and the Christian stations.
Yes.
And the Spanish. Yeah.
Where do you listen?
Yeah.
For me, I always end up running into country music, and I
country music too.
Dislike country music, and that is something that I will never just listen to because it's on. I will turn it off.
Yep. So they are on their way to investigate a vampire attack, although Sam is preoccupied with the news that it is the apocalypse, which we haven't heard in a while.
No, I even wrote that down. It's like they haven't mentioned the apocalypse as something that's weighing on them. And I'm like, whose apocalypse is it? Is it because of Yellow Eyes and his impending, endgame apocalypse? Is it Lilith's apocalypse? Like, when did this word start getting used for what's happening?
It was when Castiel was in the kitchen with Dean. Like when they're both asleep, Dean wakes up and then Castiel is there. And then he's like, well, we weren't sure it was the seals or whatever, but now we know that she's breaking the 66 seals because she's trying to free Lucifer from the cage, and then it'll be the end times. I don't even know. I don't even remember if he used the word apocalypse, but I think the gist he was getting at was this is a big thing that could destroy everyone.
So it's Lilith bringing about the apocalypse. It's not. It's not the revelations of Yellow Eyes still has an end game that they haven't figured out.
Correct.
With Sam. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, so Dean, all gung-ho, all gung-ho for this vampire story. But Sam is reluctantly, going along with it because he is bummed out about and he's like still researching the apocalypse. Like, he's got his research in the car with his flashlight.
Yeah. And I love this when Dean is just like, it's about time that we have just a straightforward black and white case. And there might as well have been a take to camera there, by the boys.
So yeah, would this be considered breaking the fourth wall? You're
like, they did not a cheeky breaking the fourth wall.
Okay, because he didn't look at the camera, but
they kind of made a face like
attention to the fact that they're in black and white and that they're in. So I was like, is that really the fourth wall?
Yeah.
It could be.
Did you notice? I did not. I found this on IMDb because I was trying to find something else out. The sign that said Pennsylvania changed to Transylvania in a lightning flash.
Yes, very clever. I didn't see it the first time I watched it, but when I went back to take my notes, I was like, did that?
I know. And I even wonder, like, why are they like so focused on this Pennsylvania sign? Is it just because it's written in like old timey font, the Gothic style writing?
Yep. I always look for their signs because I always look for if there's errors, because sometimes they've made, grammatical errors on the signs, or if there's some sort of like, call out in it. So I was looking at it the second time.
Yeah.
We're on to you, Supernatural, but very clever. It's Pennsylvania, lightning flashes.
Yes.
Transylvania. And then boop, back to.
Yeah, it's only in the lightning flash. It says Transylvania.
My map quest said Pennsylvania. Transylvania.
However, later on, I was trying to figure out where exactly in Pennsylvania they were, just to see maybe somebody else found it out. And it was later when they're at the museum. It says Canonsburg. So they are in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania, which is just outside of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Like southwest.
Teeny tiny town. Teeny tiny little town, which is perfect for, what's happening.
Their vibe.
Yeah, exactly. So a couple of cool things that they do in and out of this this entire episode is not only is it filmed in black and white, there's a ton of old time cinematography tricks or
the transitions, especially the cuts between scenes.
Yeah. So like this one, as we usually see the Impala driving away, does its drive away down the curvy road. They did a little iris in. So the camera closes in to like a little spotlight on the car, and then whoop, gone. And they do that throughout this entire episode.
They do little spooky things.
End of scene.
Yes. So now it cuts to a little, the cutest, like cutie pie little town, in old Dutch, kind of feel. It's Oktoberfest, and there's polka music playing, bar wenches and lederhosen abound. This band is real, by the way.
Yes, the Happy Schnapps.
Happy Schnapps combo.
Their name was all over this episode. It wasn't just like on the band. It was like the band's logo was everywhere in this town. Happy Schnapps combo.
Yes, they are from
their Facebook page. And the last post they have, it says, "Hey there, yous." And it was just like where they were going to play. If it's not happening here, it's not happening. It was just cute. Hey there, yous.
They're walking in as FBI agents. You can kind of see like the little FBI thing in the windshield of the car. Like there's like a little placard or parking pass kind of thing.
Yeah, they're in their suits. They're not in their like their best FBI suits I've seen, but they're in FBI suits. I wrote down almost Men in Black, but then I was like, oh, except Dean's wearing a thick striped tie, so maybe not. So Men in Black. I love that Dean, as they walk into this little town and they're checking out everything, they were talking about Dean wanted to go see the new Raiders movie. And Sam's like, nope, I already saw it. And Dean's all bummed out that Sam went to go see an Indiana Jones movie without him. But Sam's like, you were in hell. Which, if you look at the date, the last Raiders movie they were talking about would have been, was it Crystal Skull? Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. So I'm like, it's a good thing you were in hell, because as much as a fan of those movies I am, it's okay.
You know what?
Missed out on Crystal Skull.
I like that movie. I like it a lot, and I think that it, like all of the things that everyone bitches about, are this. It follows the same formula that every other Indiana Jones movie has done. So people just got up in arms. He's like, aliens? I don't believe in aliens. That's too out of the world. And I'm like, okay, so what about like the magical Jesus ark that melts people's faces when they open it?
Right.
Or the knight that is literally immortal, has lived 1,000,000 years.
Right. That's funny. That's not what bothered me. We'll talk about Raiders.
Yeah, that's another podcast.
It was, But anyway, so poor Dean missed out.
Or the fridge. No, I'm going to go back to this. The fridge that everyone is just like, you never would have survived a nuclear blast in the fridge. It's like, okay, well, he also wouldn't have survived a drop from a plane on a floaty, like, on a raft and landed, like, perfectly pristine on, like, the snow and then a river. So, you know what? 2 fingers up to everybody. That movie's fine.
All right. Well, the only
anyway.
All right, so no, you're still going. So I'll just tell you what I didn't like about that movie.
Okay.
It was the villainess, and that chase scene through the jungle. It just went on with the cars. It just went on too long, and it wasn't for me as spectacular as an indie chase scene would have been. That's all. Right. It was for me those moments. I didn't like the villainess, and I didn't like Shia LaBeouf, but everything else, I mean, the story and the crystal skull, that didn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that stuff. It was just
the monkeys were a bit much. I think the monkeys swinging on the vine and Shia swinging with the monkeys. That maybe was like, oh, okay, maybe
that's what would take me out.
That could have cut out, you know.
Yeah. So, but no, all the things that you just described, I was like, oh, I didn't even think about.
That's what I see all the time on like Reddit and shit. But anyway, we're not talking about Indiana Jones. We're talking about this. So, and Dean is mad that Sam went to go see it. But then he gets distracted pretty fast because he sees a big pretzel and a pretty blonde bar wench. So
yes, in Lederhosen. Guten Tag. Guten Tag yourself. And I just wrote down horn dog. Dean is back.
Yes. Although I don't think that I don't think she's wearing Lederhosen. I think that's a dude thing.
Oh, those suspenders. Okay,
yeah, I think maybe she would be wearing. I think they call it a dirndl, or something similar to that. Because the Lederhosen are the shorts. I know because John Farrell I went with him to go buy some. He bought them for him. And the lady part of that are called dirndls, which are like the cute little, you know.
Okay, little skirts with the foofy
things. Yes, yeah. Foofy dresses.
But they do see their the person they're there to talk to, which is Sheriff Dietrich. So they see the sheriff and they go off to go find out what's going on with Sheriff Dietrich. Did you recognize this actor by any chance?
No.
I did. His name's Gary Chalk. And I recognize he's another one of those actors who, like, once you recognize who he is, you're going to see him in a ton of different shows.
Yeah.
He's one of those actors. But he did a pretty long stint on Stargate. Dun, dun, dun. He played a Russian commander, which is hysterical to hear his Russian accent, and then to see him in this, I'm like, oh. Yeah. So Sam and Dean introduce themselves to the sheriff with their fabulous fake badges and their aliases as Angus and Young, which this time is one person instead of 2 separate people. One of the lead co-founders of AC/DC and lead guitarist.
Yeah, I did have to look that up, but yes, it's a guitarist from AC/DC.
Yeah, he's the one who always, like, he's wearing the school clothes, the school uniform.
Okay.
Jumping around with his one foot in front of him.
Yeah.
That's him. Set note about this little town that they're in. It was an old amusement park, so it wasn't an actual, like, town. It was actually built as a miniature of a town, which is why everything looks so small and
compact.
Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. But it was known for its gardens, and then it was also used in a Stargate episode. That's all.
Yes, I was gonna say that in one of the things that I found, there was like set pieces, or there was a set that they used for Stargate.
Yep. I think this was also used in an X-Files episode, so it's probably where
maybe
Tim Manners is like, aha.
Yeah.
I know where we could film this.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, Sheriff Dietrich takes agents Angus and Young to the morgue, and then they show them the body of the woman that was, in the news.
Killed by a vampire.
Killed by a vampire. And in fact, when Dean turns her neck, she's got 2 perfect little puncture holes, like right on the side of her neck.
Sam and Dean are like, what the... That's not what vampires do.
Yes.
Her neck should be torn out. She should be...
Yeah. Like a big bloody mess. And
yeah, instead she's this beautiful, pristine body, except for 2 little bruised marks. This is stupid. I zoomed in on the sign on the wall next to the fridges, all the little body fridges. There's a sign on the wall, and it says, to all funeral directors, make sure refrigerator door is securely closed after removing body. A detail of the set decorator, but like, what? Has someone walked away and left?
I guess so. There's warning signs for a reason,
Oh, that's right. Don't
Like
hit
on all
self on
the,
head with
like
hammer.
even, yeah, like on hair dryers, there's like all of these like crazy, like do not do
Not,
this. And it's like
yeah.
common sense, but it's like, oh,
Somebody
there's a
did it.
reason that it's on there.
Yep.
But speaking of zooming in on signs, I zoomed in on the big Oktoberfest sign that was like right at the opening of the town.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one kind of beer that said like Herzazigstein or something like that, which I could have sworn that I saw that name on the credits, but it does also say McG Brew, like as a sponsor.
Like Big G.
Yes.
Clever.
Yeah, but that's the only thing I saw besides like the Hoppy Schnapps combo, and then there's like a radio station, but there's a ton of radio stations that are 97.2 The Rock FM.
Right. Oh my God.
So
Too
I don't think,
funny.
yeah.
I I find it interesting. I get so exhausted in the minutia of just the daily like rehearsal life that I just want to get to the end of the day. Let's just put it on stage and get there. I can't imagine these little details that they come up with instead of just being like, look, just put a sign up. They're like, no, if there's going to be a sign, the sign has to mean something. So what do we put on the sign? You know what I mean? It's the little things that
Yes.
they take the time and energy to do that we may not actually catch unless we're like literally pausing and zooming
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
but the average viewer isn't necessarily going to catch. So why do it? I'm exhausted. I don't want to do it, but they do it. And
Well,
I
here's the
got to give them
difference. Yeah,
props.
here's the difference between Hollywood and theater is that Hollywood has a budget in which they can have teams of people do these kinds of things. So you have one team that is focused just on like the little details of the set
Right.
versus in theater where it's like one person doing
A million
everything.
things.
And that
Yeah.
would get tired of like, I don't care about the details, just what's the bare minimum that I can do and get away
Yeah.
with.
Yeah. I mean, the number of notes I got on a goblet once, I was like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You got 6 different options here and none of them will work for you.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's
All right.
why I do what my job is. So.
So anyway, in the morgue, the sheriff mentions a quote unquote unreliable witness named Ed Brewer. So then off they go to find Ed Brewer.
Before, I just want to point out, before they do leave, a couple of the camera angles used in the scene I thought were pretty cool and pretty classic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One is the point of view, the body point of view camera.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of times it looked like the camera was the girl, the body actually looking up at the men who were talking about her.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a classic shot of the sheriff standing on one side of the body tray and Sam and Dean standing on the other. And they had their differing views of what could have possibly happened here. Because there's also when the sheriff mentions, that, is this, some sort of, is this when he mentions Anne Rice?
Yeah. It's just like some sort of Anne Rice reading wacko kind of comment.
Who this guy wants to be a vampire and is now, killing girls. So, and Sam and Dean are obviously still skeptical about what this actually is. So it's just interesting, divided by the body and the options and then the point of view camera. Because when they actually put the body back in and close the door securely, the camera goes in with the body. So our view is going back into the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Which I love that stuff.
I do too. And it was also a creative way to transition the scene. Again, it was like we shut the door and it's black. And then when we bring the camera back, we're in the bar. Dean heads straight up to the cute blonde that he spotted earlier. Who has a pretty everything. I'm not gonna lie, that wasn't too bad of a line. That probably would have, caught me. Like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't help though that he like literally went up and down her body, hovered for a brief second on her breast. But that's what men do. He wasn't ogling her. He was just like, I like what I see.
Yes.
And he did say pretty everything.
But then he ruins it. He ruins it by going on and on about how he's a maverick and doesn't play by, the rules. He just like goes on and on and on. And Sam is like, all right, let's reel you back in.
Yeah. Stupid. It was just, I'm like, Dean, you're like hot on your own.
Yeah.
If you're like ruggedly handsome, you're the
Mm-hmm.
hero type. You don't have to
Yeah.
do the
Yeah, you got these big,
lean
like,
in
beautiful, like, puppy dog eyes and pouty lips. You don't need to do anything
anything.
except stand there.
Right. But apparently he does have to do things.
Yes. So she points
Um
him off into the direction of Ed, who's like sitting in a corner booth, and he's an eccentric guy, we could say.
I love this scene. I'm sorry. I loved this episode. It wasn't like laugh out loud, but there was so much that just made me smile and feel good. And
Yeah.
this character, Ed, made me
Mm-hmm.
smile and feel.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
sitting there. He's got, he's kind of a clean cut looking guy, but not, there's just something slightly off about him. He's got the biggest beer stein I've ever
I
seen.
know. It's as big as him because he's a
like
tiny, scrawny little guy.
right? It's on the table next to him, and he literally is like, okay, I'm going to tell you what happened. And he opens the beer stein, takes a swig, closes the lid on the beer stein, and then wipes his mouth, but with his whole hand. He doesn't just
Yeah.
wipe his mouth on the phone. He's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then leans in. He's like, okay. I can only imagine what it must have been like sitting there filming this.
Yeah.
And seeing what he was going to bring to the table with
Right.
this scene.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. This guy was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So he describes the murder that he witnessed. And it's your typical movie scenario where you see a couple in the park supposedly kissing and having a good time, but then it turns out, oh wait, she's actually struggling. And that's when Ed steps in like, hey, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And
I just love his straightforward response of when they said, what did he look like? Oh, he was a vampire.
Yeah.
That's it.
And they're like, what? Okay,
well, a vampire.
Vampire.
A vampire.
And he describes basically our knowledge of Dracula. Slicked back hair, the cape, and even the little medallion around his neck.
The accent. And then they said, what, like a Dracula? Yeah, like a Dracula.
It was Dracula. It was just like a Dracula. I mean, and he reenacts it. He's like, what did he say? He's like, and he throws his hand over his face, as if he's got a cape on. He's like, stay away from me, mortal. Yes. Sam and Dean, the look on their face was just so blank. They just didn't know how to take this, because when he's done doing his reenactment, he reaches for the beer stein again, and it's like,
yep,
same wipe in the face.
Yep.
It's like, you guys think I'm crazy, right?
Yeah.
It was just, I just love the look on their face was just like, okay, this is not our kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're used to crazy, but this is actually not our kind of.
Yes. And even later, like just a bit later, Dean even says, when Jamie says, is the case too weird for you? And he says, not weird enough, actually.
I liked her.
I did too.
There were moments when I was like, I have questions about her. In the episode.
Yeah. So anyway, now the camera cuts to the bar. Jamie's there, like watching the two guys with Ed. And then her friend comes up. He's like, ooh, Fez, are they talking to Ed? But, little girly gossip. She blots her lipstick with the napkin and puts it on the bar. And the reason I mention that is because the camera does a nice zoom up, close up of it.
Yep.
And then moments later, Sam walks up to the bar, picks it up and looks at it like, maybe I should remember this later.
Right. Which I'm thinking, that's disgusting. I mean, that's what I just wrote down.
It is. It's just like, you just leave it. Why don't you throw it in the garbage?
And then he picked it up. I mean, he does. I mean, Sam notices it. I think he picks it up later.
He does. No, he picks it up now. Like, he picks it up and, like, yes. Like it definitely make a note of it. It's just like, lipstick. Okay, well, then that's it.
Yeah. Gross. So their takeaway from this between Sam and Dean is not a supernatural vampire, not their type of vampire. But Dean is like, well, let's stay anyway. It's Oktoberfest, so this isn't our case, but hey, beer, bar wenches, Oktoberfest. I've been in hell.
Yep.
Let me just enjoy myself. And then he jumps into this ridiculous. Like, he doesn't even have to explain himself, but he does.
Yeah.
He literally says, I'm going to go have a good time because basically I'm a virgin again. I've been pulled from hell. I don't have any of my scars. I don't have any of my broken bones. I am clean. I am soft as a baby's butt. You know, I'm a virgin and I need to fix that.
I believe the exact word he used was rehymenated. Okay. So I have a friend who I've mentioned here before, Kenny. He's like the super smart guy who
Yes.
He's frankly above this show. Like, I don't know why he watches it. You know, this was like back when we were starting like this, and maybe we were on end of season 1, season 2-ish kind of placement, but he was, you know, ahead of us a little bit. I was telling him what my favorite season was, my favorite episodes were, and I was like, okay, like, it gets, the first 5 seasons are really good. Then you kind of got to push through a little bit, you know, but just keep the faith, it will get better.
Right.
But it does, you have to like kind of just grin and bear it for a minute.
Yep, bear down. Yep.
But then he mentions like, I'm a little taken aback at the sexist comments that all the boys make. In fact, in one episode when he said rehymenated, I almost like spit my drink out. And I was racking my mind. It's like, in what world did they ever say rehymenated?
Just in Dean's.
And it was this one. Granted, I'm glad that he was talking about himself instead of another woman.
Right. Which
but
is
still
disgusting. So, it's arcane to think that just because you have a hymen means you're a virgin.
Yeah.
Or that if you don't have a hymen, you're not a virgin.
Right.
And the idea of a virgin being a state of anything is ridiculous. So.
Right. But anyway, that just
state of judgment.
that brought me back to that conversation. I was like, oh my God. Here it is. Rehymenated. It's a word I've never heard before.
Times, I'm like, we get it. I have a question though, going back to this, because he says, you know, that he's been reborn essentially, you know, no scars, no broken bones. Does he still have his tattoo?
Oh.
Does he still have his anti-possession tattoo?
Well, we know that he does. So
in his rehymenating talk, Dean does also compare himself to the Big Lebowski.
Yes.
The dude will not abide, which cracked me up. Because you can always throw in a Big Lebowski.
Always acceptable. I do like the part where he orders a giant beer and then prevents Sam from getting a beer because he calls him like a Christian Scientist and can't even take Tylenol. Right. A nice little brotherly pranking moment.
Yes.
Poor Sam.
But Sam just was like, fine, whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to bed.
To the hotel. I'm going back to the hotel. You know, you do your dance over
there. Yeah. But Jamie isn't into it. You know, she's just like, I'm not gonna go out with a customer on the first, day. Yeah. No self-respecting bar wench would do that. Good for you.
She calls herself a bar wench.
Yes.
Even though Sam gave Dean a hard time about bar wenching.
Yes. Good little feminist Sam. Yeah. We love to see it. She did call him G-Man, which I had to look up because I was like, is this a reference to like Top Gun or something? Because he called himself Maverick or, whatever. But no, apparently
G-Man means fed.
Government man. Yeah, it's like a super old school term for government man, which I did not know.
Oh, you didn't know? Oh.
I didn't know, and now I do. Thank you, Supernatural.
I remember.
The more you know. And another little Easter egg is the guy who played Ed Brewer, Michael Eklund. He plays Abraham Van Helsing in a couple episodes of the newer Van Helsing show that's out. I don't think it's on anymore, or it's ending pretty soon. But it's about like Van Helsing's distant relatives. So it's a lady Van Helsing, but then he plays in a flashback episode or two, like
Van Helsing,
the original Van Helsing. So it's kind of funny.
Cool.
Yeah.
There's no way they could have anticipated that.
No.
Pretty awesome, because there are other little Easter eggs that they do completely anticipate in this episode.
Oh yeah. All right.
So this next scene I loved. This is 100% campy. and 100% true to the old monster movies.
Yeah.
Just the scene, the setup itself. And it opens with like the suspenseful music. There's the painted backdrop, which is clearly a painted backdrop because you can see the wrinkles in
I didn't catch that.
On the right
I did
side
not
of the
see
screen,
that.
you
Oh,
can
that's
definitely
amazing.
see the wrinkles
Yeah.
in the set. And it's a painted drop of like, it's a foggy night or a cloudy night, except for the full moon.
Yeah.
Is, the camera shot through the silhouette of the trees. You hear the howl in the background. The camera pans down to the smallest compact little car in this field of fog, this like rolling dry ice fog that's like almost up to the axles.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out there's so much dry ice and fog used in this episode. Having just come off a show that used dry ice in one scene to give the rolling fog effect on stage, the amount of dry ice they must have used up
in
these shots is monumental.
Was this for All Is Calm they used dry ice?
No, it was for the dance piece.
For the dance. Okay.
Dance piece. And what's funny is we started Act 2 with this foggy scene. So the curtain is in, so we can build up all the fog behind the curtain so that when the curtain goes out, the fog kind of whooshes into the audience a little bit, but still there's enough that it's on the stage. Well, we took a day off before our last performance, and didn't anticipate how much dry ice would actually evaporate overnight.
Oh, no.
So when we came back in the next day to do our final show, there was like just barely enough dry ice that we're like, okay, we can muscle through.
Yeah.
And we turned it on, it just went
poof. Oh, no.
It just went and I was like, all right, strike the tube.
Yeah. Oh, bummer.
Out.
Yeah.
No fog. So I could just imagine how much dry ice, the tonnage used for these scenes, because it was comically deep fog.
Yeah, it was. So yeah, it's a couple making out in the car. She's freaked out by the sounds that she's hearing of the wolves, and he's giving the skeezy line of blue balls. And even she's like, that isn't true, but she does it anyway.
she goes in anyway.
Yeah, it's like, all right, fine. And then meanwhile, in the shadows and deepness of the fog, you see these furry arms and claws, like reaching out to the car, slowly by slowly.
As if someone who's reaching out for something that is far away walks with their arms outstretched. I'm coming for you. It literally reminded me of what my sister used to do to me. That story I told you when she would walk across the room to scare me. That's what those arms were.
So she hears more wolf sounds, and she's like, that sounded like a wolf. And Rick's last words are, there aren't any rules in Pennsylvania. And then smash crash through the window come a pair of wolfy arms. Pull Rick out. She's screaming, and you hear like these ripping, tearing sounds. And
chomping.
Yep.
And I just want to make a note that, again, should have listened to the girl.
Yep.
So back at Oktoberfest, now Sam and Dean are interviewing this girl who has her hands wrapped around the biggest, like, slurpy, big gulp drink. I'm like, what's with the giant drinks?
Right.
That was in this episode. I was like, what are they saying here? I even looked it up. I was like, what is with the big drinks?
It was just a gag, I guess. Well, I have to be honest, like, for a while I was like, it must be something in the drinks. Like, that was kind of like that made me think, because I forgot, what was happening. Right. It's like, ooh, maybe it's like something in the drinks, because even like she's just kind of like dazed, just like slipping and slurping, just like, oh yeah, he was torn to shreds by a werewolf. Yep, that's it. Like, not really phased at all that her boyfriend was
just torn to pieces.
Yeah, in front of her very eyes, and she's like,
right. Werewolf. So maybe she was taken in, right? Because they basically say, what is it? She's like, werewolf. And like shrugs, like, werewolf,
Yeah.
Why would you say it's a werewolf? Fur, black nose.
Yep. Claws.
And once again, Sam and Dean, just no expressions on their faces, like, really? But no, there is nothing about the big drinks.
No.
And that would have been a great device. But no,
it's just a gag.
just
A very funny gag, but a gag nonetheless. So they go back to the morgue and look at this body, although it's not much of a body, but just kind of pieces. However, the thing that is still there is his heart, which is, a real werewolf's MO is take the heart.
Take the heart. Yep. And they're like, all right. And then the sheriff comes in and he's like, oh, by the way, we also found wolf hair on the body. So it was a wolf that killed him. And now Sam and Dean are like, what?
Yeah. What?
Werewolves don't actually have wolf hair. So back at the bar, because where do you go if you know dead end? So Sam and Dean are now back at the bar and they're discussing like, okay, what is actually happening here? And Dean hits on the fact that these are all these attacks are like monster movie monsters.
Yeah, he's like Dracula meets Wolfman. Like,
yeah, he's like, so there are two creatures in town. Like, what are the chances of there? Even if these aren't like supernatural things, what are the chances of these two things happening at the same time?
Yeah.
This time, Jamie Barwench brings 2 beers, which I thought was funny that she gave Sam a beer without asking if it was okay that he has a beer.
I think maybe she caught on that he
yeah, because another reason why I liked her, because so she's like, beer's on me, figure out what's going on, because people are dying in my town. So thank you for sticking around.
And she gets off at midnight. By the way,
Dean looks over at the bar and gestures towards Lucy, like, what, no girls' night out?
Which was her excuse last time.
Did you notice that when this shot, Lucy is casually, at the bar reading a magazine? Did you see what magazine she was reading?
No.
Screen Idols. Screen Idols magazine, which in this moment means nothing. Going to the end of the episode.
Oh, it's just like a little Easter egg of...
Yep. Screen Idols magazine.
Got it. All right, so now we cut to, Dean's really excited now, and he's just like cracking jokes about Dracula turning into a bat.
He's like, that'd be cool. Yeah, so his mind is clearly at ease.
Yeah.
about everything. He's got a date.
He's very plucky, like in general in this episode.
He's happy.
Yes.
He's like, he is happy.
Yeah. It's good to see a happy Dean. Yeah. So now we cut to a museum, and this is where I found out where we were. Canonsburg. Yep. It says Canonsburg Natural History thingy. A mysterious box has shown up that looks very Egyptian, and the security guard is calling somebody, being like, did you make this order? Like, did you know this was coming? What's
like a sarcophagus left on the loading dock?
Yeah, like what's happening?
No, I think it's funny that it's the American History Museum. But there's like an Egyptian delivery. Nobody thought that, only he thought this was weird. Like everybody else is like,
Oh, I didn't even think about that it was an American. I thought it just said like natural history, but
American History Museum.
Oh, okay. So as he's on the phone, then the tomb lid slides open. Here comes the dry ice foam or fog, and then 2 little hands come out. And it's a mummy.
It's a mummy. And the guard turns around just in time to see that the lid is now all the way off the sarcophagus, and that the mummy inside the sarcophagus like stands up by itself, lifts up out of the fog. The guard is able to finally reach for his gun, shoot the mummy to no effect, and then the mummy ends up strangling the poor security guard to death.
A very well done mummy. I really liked the face done on this mummy.
Yeah, it was like all that it was like all bandages except for like his teeth, which were
pulled back,
that grimace that skeletons have.
Yeah. So here's a little Easter egg. He says Helen on the phone, like he said, do you think Helen knows about this or something like that? Helen is the name of the main woman character in the original Mummy film, like the really old one in like 1930s.
Oh, there's a lot of named characters in this episode that are call outs to movies.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I didn't know that one though.
I did accidentally stumble across that as well.
Oh, Because I was thinking there was something, because before he's killed, he says like, "Holy mother of crap," and I thought that was, oh, does that mean something? No,
nope,
it doesn't.
It's standards and practices not letting you say what you really want to say.
Oh, that.
Yes.
But what we do learn though is this is not human. This is something supernatural, because the guard shot him several times.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he didn't die. So this is clearly not a guy dressed up as a mummy,
right,
or a vampire, or a werewolf. This is something supernatural.
And he was strong enough to like lift that guy up the wall with one hand.
Yep. So now Sam and Dean are on the crime scene investigating the sarcophagus, and doing their Winchester thing, which is great. Except Sam stands up and he just pulled a sticker off the sarcophagus. He's like, "Oh my God." It's a prop.
Yeah.
It's from a prop house. This is
And Dean pulls up the little tiny bucket of dry ice inside.
Which, by the way, two things. A, never shut yourself inside a sarcophagus with dry ice. You'll asphyxiate and die.
Well, if you're not human, it doesn't matter.
Right. I did write that down, by the way. He's not human. Two, that little tiny bucket of dry ice wouldn't have lasted till morning, nor would it have even filled up the thing. Again, just because of my recent experiences.
TV magic.
TV magic, indeed. The best line Sam's delivered in this entire episode.
Yep.
This is stupid.
Yeah.
They're just like, this is stupid.
I cracked up. I was just it was his delivery. It was just like him like kind of like looking around, thinking about all the things that he's been seeing. This is stupid.
This is stupid. And Dean's like, "Peace out. I got a date." He's like, "Oh shit, you got this?" Because I don't want to stick around for stupid. I have a date. Yep. And Sam's like, "Yeah, go do her." Yep. I got this. I'll investigate crazy. So Dean rushes off. We see Jamie, who's waiting outside the bar, I'm assuming back in town, waiting. And, in the distance, you hear flap, flap, flap. You're like the flap of wings. And what is that? What could that be?
Yeah.
And Dracula appears, like the vampire Dracula appears,
like a Dracula,
and delivers the Dracula line, which is "Good evening."
Yes.
And and he's Dracula, and it's just as Ed described. It's exactly as poor Ed described him as. He's got the slick back hair, the cape, the medallion.
Yep. The accent.
Jamie takes a cue and is freaked out, runs away.
Yes.
Good for her. Except, just like the damsel in distress, she runs down a dead-end street.
Yes.
So now she's trapped in this dead-end street. And Dracula continues to approach her, and he stops just in time for this beautiful slash of light to illuminate only his eyes.
Yeah.
So he can continue to talk to her in this beautiful light. And as he starts his monologuing, as Dracula does, which is like one of those, I've seen you from afar, and you are my bride.
Yes, I have adorned you, Mina, you are mine.
In the meantime, she's like, Jamie's reaching in her purse, and Dracula, not knowing, completely unaware because he's monologuing, is taken aback by her pulling out some mace and macing him in the face, or hairspraying him in the face, or whatever.
Yeah.
And he drops the accent as she runs off and pushes by him. He's like, "Harry, son of a..."
Yeah.
So the accent gone. "I want to drink your blood."
Yeah.
So she runs off. No longer the damsel in distress. Good for her. But Dracula is not dissuaded. He takes off after her. And in the meantime, Dean shows up. Boom. Yes. And shows up right in between the two of them. So Dean is now standing between Jamie and Dracula. And Dean, taking in Dracula for the first time, literally does the same look from head to toe.
Yeah,
checks out the costume and is like,
okay.
Son of a bitch.
Yes.
Dean and Dracula fight, which
I
love that I just said that.
Yeah,
Dean fights Dracula.
Yes. cape flicks and fangs out and everything. So Dean does like land a good decent punch on him. But then, fangs come out and then his full strength comes across. Dean tells Jamie to run away.
Dracula calls him Harker,
Mr. Harker.
Mm-hmm. You won't get her, Mr. Harker. You can't have Mina, Mr. Harker.
Yes.
And slams Dean up against a brick wall and is, like choking him out, getting him ready to fang him. Like,
yeah.
And Dean is struggling because his hands are pinned, but he is able to get one hand on Dracula's ear and tears it off.
Yes. And his medallion. He also the other hand is on his medallion. So he gets an ear and a medallion.
Dracula runs off. There's a great chase sequence.
Oh my God, I love this. It's like a faraway shot of them like running through the little old Dutch Pennsylvania town. And then it's like this was really sweet. Like him just doing a one swoop jump over the fence and then the cape like flowing down is very cinematic and
yeah. And Dean can't jump over the gate, and so he's stuck behind the gate.
And then sees Dracula escaping on a Vespa.
What's great is in the chase down the street, it's like quiet. So all you hear is their footsteps, like boom, 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 as they chase each other down the street. And then there's the whoosh of the cape as Dracula leaps over this tall fence, and Dean is trapped behind the fence. And then you hear footsteps of him running, and then you hear like an engine kick over, and then you hear you see Dracula driving away on a Vespa, which is hysterical, but he's still got his Dracula face, the wide eyes and the
the cape like flowing behind him,
and Dean just like watching him escape on a scooter,
and it's complete with like the little meep meep.
Yes, beep beep, indeed. And then Iris into blackout.
I think Robert Singer said that was his favorite scene. It was like this big dramatic cinematic escape scene, and then Dracula escaping on a motor scooter.
I literally wrote down ha ha ha. I just loved that he still had his Dracula face, eyes wide, intense. Because there's no way to be cool driving a Vespa because you have to sit up straight. No. You have like your little T-Rex arms on the handlebars.
Yes, especially he looked pretty tall too, so it just looks even
like
funnier.
You're sitting on a toilet with your knees. Very funny.
And then it cuts to like a nice old school placard that just says intermission, and it's got the do 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 kind of elevator music.
Because movies used to have intermissions.
Yeah.
When I lived in Singapore, our movies had intermissions.
Oh, really?
They had intermissions.
Wow.
And in fact, sometimes if you rented a VHS, it had an intermission.
Wow.
Yep.
Very cool. Okay, so here are some Easter eggs of this little scene. Sam does reveal this later. I did happen to know this because I'm a big fan of the Dracula book, but Mina and Mr. Harker are characters in the Dracula book. So this Dracula guy is really
he's living
full in.
Yep.
The actor who plays Dracula, Todd Stashwick, remember when I was like, okay, I swear to God he's played Dracula before. He hasn't. It's just this episode. It just really must have stuck in my mind, but he also just kind of has like a familiar face, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. But no, he's been in like everything. He has been in Buffy and Angel, has played demons, so I'm sure he was like covered in, the big mask makeup.
The big cheekbones.
But here's what made me really like him is he has an improv group, I think it's in Los Angeles, called like the Doubtful Guests. Do you remember in Wolf Trap, it was that dance company that had like the Edward Gorey thing. It was kind of weird and gothic and macabre, and I was like, ooh, I really want to see that because I'm a big fan of that artist / author. The Doubtful Guest is a book of that guy, of Edward Gorey is his name. And then I saw pictures of this actor in his group, and he's got kind of like that. It looks like Tim Burton makeup a little bit, the really sunken in black eyes and pale face and like
very
darkish,
noir.
deadish, very noir. So I was like, ooh, I like this guy. Um,
That's great. I think it's so fascinating that there's performers who don't just stick to one
yeah.
medium, to hear that people have jobs outside of how we see them on
Mm-hmm.
TV always
Yeah.
fascinates me. Like the did you ever watch Scrubs? The
Mm-hmm.
guy who played the janitor, who was like the nemesis
Yeah.
of the main character the entire series, while they were still filming Scrubs the entire time, he ran his own improv group, and he had
Wow.
showings in Hollywood all the time.
That's super
and
cool.
and that was his job, was the
Yeah.
improv group,
Yeah.
not Scrubs.
Right.
I find that fascinating.
Yeah. But I just thought that was really cool. It's like, ooh, he's like a weird macabre guy too. So this role was kind of perfect for him, I think.
They must have had so much fun
Yeah.
doing this. And I don't
Yeah.
mean like haha fun, but I mean like enjoyment
Yes.
doing this.
Okay, so cut back to the
So,
scene. We're back at the
back at the
bar.
bar.
Yeah. Sam has met up with Dean and Jamie, who show him the ear that he has pulled off as proof of what they are hunting, which is
a shapeshifter.
yes.
I love that Jamie's sitting there at the bar table with the ear on the table, and there's an open bottle of booze between her and Dean, and she's just like, clearly she's had the truth is out there talk, a little bit, we'll just say
a touch, yeah,
a touch, because she even says, so the X-Files is real, and Dean has to say, no, X-Files is a TV show, but then proceeds to give her the truth is out there talk, which
yeah,
cracked
later.
me up.
Oh, also Dean shows the ribbon of Dracula, which is
right.
from the same prop house as the sarcophagus. Now they're doing their detective work of like, okay, who is new in this town? Who is a little bit suspicious? Who's been
who's taken an interest in you?
Yeah.
Yeah, to Jamie, and Jamie's like, I hate to say it, but Ed,
Yeah.
but I don't think he's that kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he is the only one who's been like, he sits at my table all the time and he gives me $20 tips, and he's got a crush on me, but I don't think he's that guy.
Yeah.
And Sam and Dean are like, yeah, but we still gotta check him out.
Yeah. And he works at a movie theater, and
right,
they're chasing all these movie villains.
Movie monsters, right?
He really kind of checks all the boxes, unfortunately.
Right. And Jamie's like, but wait, okay, never mind. Yeah. So Sam and Jamie, Dean and Jamie stay behind.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam goes off to investigate Ed.
Mm-hmm.
So in the meantime, Jamie does her own bit of like monologuing, and this is where I kind of step away from Jamie, because I feel like she made some leaps in logic that we know, what she says is true, but why would she make these leaps? She doesn't know anything about Sam and Dean, and yet she's like, your existence, your daily existence must suck. The burden of giving up your life to go chase down, a monster.
Yeah.
Like, what? How do you? And that just pulled me out for a little bit. I was like, no, you don't know that about them, But that's me being
that
possessive.
Must have been for time. It must have been, we got to get to this point. Dean's got to make this little speech thing. Right. How do we get there? We're running out of time. And, we got to fit in all these cool, like, movie reference things. So whatever. Let's just shoot. There were some, I don't have the DVD with me, but I do know that there are some deleted scenes from this. So maybe
from this moment,
from this episode, okay. I don't know from this moment, but I will. I'll come back next week with.
I'll go with it because Dean's reaction to her is actually soft, and he allows himself to then say, "Well, actually,
and it's honest."
It's like he finds comfort in her acknowledgement of his life, and he's like, "Well, actually, I found recently I had he calls it like a near-death experience, but I found that not only do I help people, I actually save people, and that makes it worthwhile." And Jamie kind of sits down next to him this time at the bar seat and leans into him a little bit, and he doesn't like make a move on her. It's just comfort. They actually are taking solace in each other, and I thought that was really sweet. And again, seeing Dean without the furrowed brow, without the weight of his impending trip to hell, or the weight of Sam lying to him, you know, or the revelations of Cass. That's not there, and it's just it's refreshing. And I liked this little scene, with the exception of her leap there.
But that does work on Jamie. You know, like, this is like, okay, yeah, don't have to use the cheesy pickup lines on me, but
he does still throw in there, you know, it's like being on a mission from God, which, again, got to throw in the Blues Brothers. We're on a mission from God. He laid off the horn dog, essentially, and he's just being himself.
Right. And look what he gets in return by being himself. He gets the girl.
He gets the girl.
And unfortunately, they are interrupted by Lucy, who's like breaking into the bar to steal a bottle of liquor. And Jamie, unfortunately, is like, no, come join us for a drink.
It's been a long day. And
yeah, let's chat.
Sure. I mean, Dean's like, yeah, let's drink together.
Yeah, let's chat. Great.
So meanwhile, Sam is at the movie theater, and there's like a ton of Easter eggs in these coming shots.
Yeah.
One is the name of the theater itself, the movie theater itself, which is the Goethe Theater, which is the poet, playwright, writer who wrote Faust, which is, of course, Dean's
he wrote the famous version of Faust. I did a little digging on Faust. It's been around a very, very, very long time, but he's kind of the one that made it well known, or like he turned it into a play, and then that's the one that everybody now goes towards. Yes,
made a deal with the devil. Yep.
Yeah,
and which, you know, harkens back to Dean's deal. So that was boom right there.
Yeah.
The orchestration that we hear, like when Sam first steps up to the movie, is the toccata and fugue.
Yes. That's one of my favorite classical pieces, honestly. I love it. I think it's so spooky. I think it's so dramatic.
Yes.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Wonderful. The movie that's playing on the marquee is Phantom of the Opera. The number of movie posters, there's a couple that they use twice, like Them is shown a couple of times. Now, I read somewhere that there's a poster on the wall of, wait for it,
House of Wax,
which I didn't see.
I didn't see it either.
But somebody said that there was a movie poster for House of Wax, and it was a call out to Jared, who was in one of the remakes of House of Wax. And I looked and I looked and I looked, and I didn't see that.
No, I saw Them, and then I saw some sort of Dracula movie, like not the Dracula movie, but like a weird.
It was Dracula, and then something German underneath it. It was like Rooker or something. I looked it up. It's not. There's nothing there. So, but yeah. So I didn't see House of Wax, so I'm calling BS on that.
Yeah.
But thank you for wasting my time. Wiki searcher.
Yeah.
As he's coming up the stairs into the theater, he does pull out his gun, and he's doing is it down this way? Is it down this way? You know, pointing his gun. And the music's getting louder. And what we see now in the theater itself, it's an empty movie house, except for somebody is playing an organ. And they're on the stage behind the screen. They're not on stage in front of the screen where people can see them. And there's a projector behind the screen that is casting this enormous shadow onto the screen of this like character, this creepy character playing the organ and with flourishing hand movements. And into this scene walks Sam's silhouette with the gun outstretched. Which initially is kind of cool. So Sam sneaks up behind Ed, who's playing not an organ, but a Casio keyboard, because he switches from toccata and fugue to some sort of rumba. You know?
Yeah, it's like one of those pre-made beats that's on the keyboards. Cheesy, like.
Yeah. It was awesome. And he's got getting down. He is having a good time playing this.
In his tidy whities.
In his underwear. And Sam sneaks up behind him, throws the chair out from under him and points the gun at him and is all Winchester-y on him. Yeah. And it's like, it looks like you've grown your ear back. Poor Ed is like, what? And Sam is like, pulling on his ear to prove that he's the shapeshifter. And he's like, this is supposed to come off. And Ed's like, no, please don't pull my ear off. He's like, I just like to play the keyboard or the Casio. I don't know what you're talking about. I felt so bad for him.
I know, poor little Ed.
He was
First, he's like the laughing stock of the town because he said he saw a Dracula, even though there is a Dracula.
Yes.
And now he's getting bullied by a moose.
And he plays the keyboards in his underwear, backlit by a projection, by a projector on a screen. But if you had a movie theater all to yourself, what would you do?
Right.
So turns out it's not Ed. Ed is not the shapeshifter.
No.
And so back at the bar, Dean, Jamie, and Lucy are now sitting at the bar table having drinks. And it sounds like Jamie's had just one too many.
Yeah.
Giggling and slurring her way through, retelling Lucy of what happened to them that night with Dracula. And Dean looks into his glass because he's kind of like taken aback by how giggly Jamie's become. He's like, this isn't quite right. And he looks at his glass and it does this beautiful old-timey like kaleidoscope lens where it goes from looking at one glass to now there's 5 glasses around. So whatever's happening to Jamie is happening to Dean, except he's not being loose and giggly. He's like, oh no,
like something's happening.
Yep. And in the meantime, Lucy has again blotted her lipstick on a napkin and left it on the table. And I'm like, gross. And he figures out just a little too late that it's Lucy, that there's something up with Lucy.
Yes.
And reaches across the table and punches her like right across the face. And the next time we see like Lucy looks back at the camera after the punch and her jaw is like off to the side in a almost comical cartoonish look. And then takes her hand and goes snap and pops her jaw back into place.
Yep.
And Dean's like, it's you.
Yes.
You did
it's you. Takes a bottle. Like Jamie is now gone. She like passed out on the bar seat. She's like, what is going on? And he takes the liquor bottle, smashes it, and like threatens her with it. And then does I love a good faceplant fall. I just think they are so funny because it's dead weight, just like leaning over
flat on his face.
Too late, and then she finishes knocking him out, and then blackout.
And she even says, "And scene."
Yes.
While she takes him one more time.
Here's another little Easter egg. Lucy is another character in the Dracula book. She is like Mina's best friend, and she's the first one that Dracula starts to turn into a vampire when he comes into town, and then she kind of starts becoming like a shapeshifter-y follower of Dracula. So
next thing we know, we're in a dungeon.
Dungeon, mad scientist lab,
like layer. Hard to say. Dean is now in lederhosen.
Yes.
So for a man who doesn't do shorts, he's now been put in shorts. I'm assuming against his will.
I would,
or unbeknownst to him.
Right.
Which, if you think about the logistics of what happened there,
I know.
But he's also strapped down to like a workbench, like, and he's held down with metal bands, very a la Frankenstein's monster.
Yes. Yes.
And
he awakens. He looks around, looks down at himself, and it's like, oh, "Are you kidding me?" Fun fact: Jensen was actually really uncomfortable with he was like, "Really? Are you gonna make me dress in lederhosen for this? This is ridiculous." So I think it was Robert Singer also dressed up in lederhosen in solidarity with him on set, so he wouldn't be the only person dressed like that.
Aww,
I know,
that's so sweet.
It is.
I want to see pictures.
Yeah, maybe I could try and dig some up, but.
There was a show I did a million years ago where the actress, the diva, had to wear a face veil, over most of the time, and she got very claustrophobic by that. She's like, I'm really nervous by this. So as stage management, we all wore face veils.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that photo of you and
Yeah.
Katie, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That was because we were helping the singer out.
Oh,
She
that's cute.
she could see us in that and be like, okay, if they're okay, I'm okay.
Right, right. All right, so he looks around. He's in Lederhosen, and then he sees a painting of a woman who looks an awful lot like the girl that he just got knocked out by. And there appears Dracula, who says this, I chose her form because she was in the first, in the Dracula movie, she was one of the brides, and she was so beautiful, and she didn't get her acclaim. And
I said Dracula shows up in monologues.
yes, monologues about, Mina, and how, it's like, you will never get Mina, she is mine. Dina's like, you're crazy, and earns him a couple face punches from Dracula.
And what's cool though is that Dracula, we really see his characterization of Dracula. I mean, he is Bela Lugosi in this. Everything he does, all his hand gestures, his posture, the way he moves around the room, he is trying to embody the Dracula from the old movies.
Yeah.
And I just wrote down so many outtakes from this episode. There was a fight sequence because of the number of Dean Dracula fights, where unfortunately the actor did get a good hit on Jensen, and he stops himself. He's like, "Oh, I got you, didn't I?" And Jared's like, "Yeah, yeah, you got me." Never want to punch your, your coworkers. But he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I got you." Yeah. So Dracula is monologuing and explaining that he got his ideas about living through the movies. He wanted to be the superstars that these monsters were portrayed. And you, being Harker, are going to die in this episode, whereas I, the hero, I, the monster, get to live.
Yes, because it's his movie.
It's his movie. So he starts like, Dracula starts like walking towards the wall of this dungeon where there's a giant like power switch. In theater, I call that a Frankenstein switch, because there's times in one of the theaters I worked at, an older theater, in order to turn on the dimmers for the lights that you turn on over the stage, there was a Frankenstein switch that you had to pull, and nobody ever wanted to turn the lights on at the beginning of a rehearsal, because it literally would go sparks and sparks when the metal hit the metal, when the connection was made. So Dracula's reaching for this Frankenstein switch, and he's taking forever to get there while he's monologuing about one.
He's like milking it beyond
what they do in the movies.
Yes, because he's even like looking at Dean while he's doing it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
That's very much like my sister. And so it's like, scene is Dean struggles against his bonds. Dracula reaching for the switch. Dean struggles against his bonds. Dracula reaching for the switch. Finally, the doorbell rings. You literally, in all of this suspense and tension, you hear bing bong.
Yep.
And Dracula's like, he goes off. So Dean saved by the doorbell again, just like in the Christmas episode where he was saved.
Oh yeah, by
having from his teeth being pulled out. And I love that he leaves Dracula style. He like
with the cape,
the cape, the arm across the face.
Yes.
Every take of him moving through this house, because now seeing Dracula moving through this modern, like,
it's a suburban, like,
house. There's there's an office with a computer, and he's still moving through the house.
Yes.
Like Dracula sneaking through the house, and it's his house. Back me up. That was brilliant. I mean, filmmakers, brilliant.
Yeah. So he opens the door to a pizza delivery. And this delivery boy is just like completely over it. He's like, oh, Jesus.
Dracula.
Yeah.
Okay. The name of the pizza company, did you notice?
No.
Big Bite Pizza. Get it?
Yeah.
Very unimpressed with Dracula.
Yeah.
And Dracula...
Even when he does this, like, no garlic on the pizza. And he's like...
The guy's like, dude, just pay me.
Yeah.
Just pay me. And Dracula's like, okay, but I have a coupon. Now he uses a line here that in Dracula he has an assistant. Who is that assistant guy that who like kind of runs around in the background and does his bidding? He's
he like starts with an R, I think.
but the line he says, if you continue to serve me, you'll live.
Oh, yes.
And he says that it's the same thing that Dracula says to
Yeah.
this assistant guy. If you
Yeah.
serve me, you'll live. I
Yeah.
won't turn you, I'll live.
Yeah.
You'll live.
It's played by Tom Waits in the
in Bram Stoker's.
Yeah, and the one that Keanu Reeves was in, and Winona Ryder was in, and the really famous Gary Oldman. Thank you. So Tom Waits played his little servant guy. He would eat bugs.
The guy eats bugs. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for playing the game. So yes, Dracula pays for his pizza with a coupon.
Meanwhile, Sam returns to the empty bar, does not see them, figures, oh, Dean and Jamie must be back at someone's place, leaves him a voicemail before he notices the lip blot napkin on the table, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's Lucy, a clue.
Yeah, a clue. Hey, there's smashed bottles everywhere. That looks like
oh yeah, he looks at the aftermath of the scene too.
Yeah, haha.
However, I was like, how did he know? I know that he picked up the napkin and like earlier on the bar, like when he saw it on the bar, he like picked it up and looked at it and was like, oh, okay. But how did he know it was Lucy's? Like he doesn't like, it could have been Jamie. Like maybe Jamie like did it and like left it for Dean as like a little, oh, a little tease for you. He never like acknowledges that it's Lucy, but anyway.
He saw her do it, yeah. Maybe he recognized the lipstick color?
Oh, maybe. That could be it.
No, we couldn't see it because
hard to tell in black and white.
Sorry, I just had a flash of, was her lipstick red? But it was black and white.
But it's black and white, so we don't know.
I know, I just didn't know if they colorized it. For some reason, I was just like,
no.
why did I just...
You just assume it's red because it is a very dark color, so that must have been it. And he was like, oh yeah, she wears dark lipstick, there's a thing. Lucy, aha! So back in the dungeon, now we cut to Jamie, who's waking up on the bed.
Bedroom. Yeah. And Dracula's in there. Gross.
Yes. Seducing her with a new gown and pizza.
Pizza. Which this scene was very Raiders of the Lost Ark, by the way, when Miriam gets kidnapped. And although he doesn't force her into the dress, he does coerce her to put on the dress. Because women are more beautiful in this dress.
And a nice white flowing gown.
Yeah. But to her credit, Jamie's like, no, I don't want to. You're crazy. This is not how you get girls. This is not how you meet people or have friends. And she drops some truths on him that Dracula doesn't want to hear. To the point where he gets so angry, he drops his veneer, he drops the Dracula voice and screams at her, put on the gown, And at that point, I think she realizes that I have to do this.
Yeah. So then meanwhile, Sam has somehow found out where Lucy lives very quickly.
I wrote down, I was like, how did he find the house?
I don't know. I do not know where he found her address. Maybe he went into the bar and looked at like employee records, or maybe like he used a tracker on Dean's phone. Maybe they have like a system in that way. I don't know. Movie magic.
Movie magic, but that was one of those moments.
Yeah. So this was the shot that I was talking about. It's like he enters the house, he has the gun, and then he like walks into the camera and it gets like really, really dark. And then that's the transition back into the other scene. Yeah. I really liked that.
Did you notice that he picked the lock, but the lock wasn't locked?
Oh, no.
He's like outside the door, you just see his silhouette kind of, and the door opens and then he, puts something back in his pocket. Puts something back in his pocket and then pulls out the gun for that take. I'm like, the lock wasn't locked. But okay. Jamie's in the gown.
Yes.
She has put on the gown.
She's very beautiful.
Still doesn't have his accent. He has not resumed his Transylvania accent. And he explains how much he loved movies, monster movies. He explained that he was born different. And, you don't understand because you don't know what it's like to have your father call you a monster and a freak and then try to beat you to death with a shovel.
Yeah.
And not just once.
Yeah.
His dad tried to kill him often.
Yeah. And then everywhere he went after that, he was called a freak. He was shunned. He was, forced into hiding. Very Phantom of the Opera metaphor going on here.
Yep.
And you know what? You really start to feel for him because then he's like, and then I found like these movies the silver screen monsters, and they were like awesome and powerful and like
and feared and
yeah.
And strong. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
that's
you
where I
know
want to
what?
live.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to live in a reality like that if you were constantly, being chased after by an angry mob?
Right. A la
Including your
Frankenstein's
father
monster. Right.
leading the mob.
Exactly. Exactly. Although I also think it's poignant that he uses the word freak, because that's what Dean on several occasions has referenced Sam's
Sam.
abilities, or people
Mm-hmm.
like Sam's abilities. But we hear a noise in the background during this monologuing, and Jamie calls out for Dean. She thinks it's Dean, so she yells out for Dean, and Dracula punches her out for that. Literally punches her across the face, and she's out. And he's horrified by what he's done, but
yeah,
he still did it.
Yeah. And he does say earlier that, she's just like, maybe you're lonely because you kill people. And he's like, or I kill people because I'm lonely.
Because I've been made lonely. Yeah.
I've been made lonely and I don't really understand like social, interactions.
Right. I don't know how to people.
Yeah, I don't know how
but
to
maybe
people.
It's because people were not good to me.
Okay, so back to Sam finds Dean and breaks him out of the table. Digs at him for the lederhosen,
As well he should.
If I were Sam, I would never let him forget that. I would have taken a picture of it.
Right before he unlocked him.
Yeah.
I don't think it's funny that he like pulled a crowbar out of his
pocket,
undoes the hinges and puts it back in his, and off they go to rescue Jamie. And but because they're trapped in the dungeon, which I guess they decide that they don't need to go back upstairs the way Sam came in, they have to go find Jamie through this other door.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, it's your turn to kick in the door. So Sam goes to kick in his dungeon door and kicks through it, trips, and like falls through the door.
Because it's like fake. Cardboard.
It's a set. It's all fake. And the looks they give each other, of course, are brilliant.
Yep.
They find Jamie's room, but when they go in to see her passed out on the bed, they're attacked by Dracula.
Ambushes him and throws Sam into yet another set piece. And like breaks the wall.
But he drops his gun in the process. So he may have been thrown through a fake wall, but he dropped his gun in the process. So now Dean attacks Dracula. And once again, Dean and Dracula are fighting, but Dracula is able to knock Dean down and goes to like bang him. He does the whole like bang into the camera.
Yeah.
I wish people who were listening could see us both going into the camera. Hands out like claws, teeth out like bang.
Yes.
But before he's able to attack Dean, he's shot from behind. And as his body staggers out of the way, we see that it's not Sam who's shot him, but Jamie.
But Jamie. Yeah.
Jamie shot him.
He also notes that it's silver, like immediately he's like, oh, that felt different than a usual gunshot. Is silver?
He also had his medallion back, which I thought was interesting.
Oh.
So he went to the prop store and got another medallion, but that's okay.
Oh no, it was already at the bar, remember?
The medallion? So
because Dean showed Sam, yeah. So now he's just like, this is mine. I need my costume complete.
I didn't even make that connection. I was being all snarky when I wrote that down. Continuity, thank you.
But he starts to like fall back. He says, this is a line from King Kong, 'twas Beauty who killed the beast.
Yeah.
And kind of slumps back into the chair, kind of makes a grand dying declamation of like, perhaps this is how the movie should die.
Right. So he was hoping that it would just be like fade to black, and everyone has a quiet weep for Dracula dying.
Yeah, for the old monster. Yep.
Yeah, that's not what happens. During this scene, though, during his dying moments, the violins that were playing was very much in line with the violins that are played in Young Frankenstein to soothe the monster. I was like, oh, is that Young Frankenstein? And wasn't exactly it, but was very close to it. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm gonna hold on to that as my young.
Yeah. No, it was probably on purpose. I can imagine it was on purpose.
But yeah, so Dracula thinks this is how his movie ends, with the iris in and end of scene. it's or end of movie, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's end of scene, and then boop,
boop, the real ending. Yeah.
The real ending is Dean, the hero, gets the girl.
Yep.
The girl gets the hero.
Yeah.
You know, we'll just put it that way too. And so Jamie and Dean are saying their kissy goodbyes after an evening of
happy ending.
Happy ending, as Dean puts it. And even Sam was like, gross. You know, you could have just left it with, you know, had a great night.
Yeah.
But you had to cheapen it.
She says goodbye. She thanks them both for saving her life. And they walk off and they talk about like, you know what, maybe he's a little bit right. It would be easier if life were like a movie. Although I wouldn't choose this Abbott meets Costello monster.
Monster mash.
Yeah.
Right. And so, you know, the question is, what movie would you choose?
Yeah, he leads up to like, oh, I would choose something way more classy and like elegant. And Sam's like, no, you wouldn't. It would be Porky's too.
And Dean's like, what? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Lucky guess. Yeah.
Yep.
And Porky's 2 was a terrible movie. It was a terrible 80s sex stupid movie, which I actually went back and I read the synopsis. I'm like, this is so bad.
Oh,
like,
of Porky's 2?
Yeah, so bad. I mean, it has to do with like the KKK and stag films. And of course, it takes place on a college campus. So there's fraternities and the dean. And I'm just like, what?
Oh my God.
So bad. So that's the end. The music swells, the orchestration swells, and we've got the end card comes up instead
with
of
a question mark.
Yeah, and then fade down. So I have a question for you.
Okay.
What movie would you want your life to be?
Oh no. Oh, I was not prepared for this. Oh my God. Harry Potter.
Oh, wow. That's so good. Oh, I didn't even think about
Harry
that.
Potter, absolutely.
Oh, now
How about you?
Well, believe it or not, I wrote down Tomb Raider.
Oh.
Because Lara Croft is smart.
Yeah.
She's respected. She's strong. She's self-reliant. You know, everything about her, I would love to be. I would love to be that self-confident in my life, in my being, in everything about me. And that's what I would want. And plus, you know, she's got the whole bungee workout, you know, gym in her house where she gets to just bungee around all day long.
I haven't actually seen the movie, but I did play a little bit of the video games, and those were really fun because if I remember correctly, there are a lot of like kind of puzzles that you can solve, and those are my favorite kind of video games when you have to like solve like oh, I have to move this piece over here in order to reach up over there, but I can't do that before doing like the switch game over here. I like those kinds of things. And if I remember correctly, she did that a lot.
Yeah, I mean it's very Indiana Jones. I mean it's
it's a lady Indiana Jones
puzzle to get that's what I would love. I would love to be that person, not necessarily having people trying to kill me all the time.
Yeah.
But just that type of life where, you know, it was adventurous and fun, and she's smart and she's sexy, and, you know, just so the self-confidence is what gets me. And that's what I wrote down.
That's a very good choice.
So cool. Oh.
No, Tomb Raider is a great choice. Harry Potter has magic, so that's what. But I mean, Hermione is a badass in her own right. In her own right, she saves the day all the time. Good question.
Yes, thank you.
Good question.
I loved this episode. I loved the tongue-in-cheek part of it. I loved the lightness of the story. For Dean, you know, Sam was not quite as light, but he did have his, you know, he was the one who always like discovered the who didn't do it.
Yeah. Yes, he's like, around. Oh, whoops.
yeah, he had to do the cleanup, you know, type of thing.
And he was the one who had the main theme of the case, which was, this is stupid.
This is stupid. Yeah. I did read on Wiki that this was one of Jared's favorite episodes.
Yeah, I read that too.
Which I totally get. And again, because there's so many like outtakes and behind the scenes stuff, not necessarily bloopers, but just behind the scenes stuff on the internet about this episode, it looks like it was just tremendous to make.
Right.
Right. I loved it. It was refreshing to step away from the seriousness and the drama.
Yeah.
The show can be.
Yeah, this was, I think it was a tag team idea between Ben Udland and Robert Singer, but Robert Singer is the one who is obsessed with these kinds of old movies. So it was really kind of driven by him, and I'm positive that all of the Easter eggs that we found, and there are probably so many more that we didn't catch, that he threw in because, if you know something front and back, you want to really do it justice if you're going to do an homage to it.
Right, exactly. Which is why I shouldn't give people a hard time about which goblet do you want, because it's like it means something to somebody.
It does, exactly. Yeah.
So.
All right. So yes, good episode, fun episode. I had fun doing the notes, even though it took forever. But it was like, I need to do more like digging into the trivia and stuff like this, because this is what makes it like fun to do.
Yeah.
Although I don't think all the episodes are as loaded with bits like this, but this season is full of, I was just kind of like looking down the list, it was just like, what's coming up this season? Like, there are so many out of the box episodes that are like this just in this season. This is really where they went ham. And it's like, I did not realize that there were so many in this season.
Well, good. I did take a peek at the next episode, and I'm very excited to do this next episode.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It was like I finished this one and I was like, what's next? And I was like, oh, good.
Yes. The one that everybody knows, even if you don't watch Supernatural, because surely you have seen a meme or two of it.
Yeah.
Speaking of next episode, it is Yellow Fever. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe to us anywhere that you can find podcasts. Also, please rate us on Apple Podcasts. It would be really nice, as long as it's a good rating. If you don't like us, then just don't, just walk away. It's all right. You don't have to.
On by.
You can find us everywhere on social media as @SaltandBurnThis. That includes YouTube. So if you prefer to watch a little sound wave go up and down as we talk, then there you go. We have it for you. Thanks so much for tuning in. Happy New Year. I hope everyone's holidays were good. Sorry I didn't get the Christmas episode up. My laptop was dead.
You and technology.
Oh my God. It's either I'm forgetting shit or the things don't.
Your microphone breaks, your earphones don't work,
I know. It's always something. It's always like one little thing.
You're a little bit cursed.
Oh no.
Are you haunted?
Ghost. Okay. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.